morning, everybody. I'm Colette the Highway Stitcher, here to give you my stitching from the highway and at home and all sorts of new frontiers. This is actually going to be pretty much just a travelogue again, so anybody who's interested in any stitching content will have to wait until I get back to regular stitching time, which will be in a couple weeks, probably. Today is going to be 83 as a high, 28 degrees Celsius. I'm just glad to see all you guys. I've been gone for a whole week up in Alaska, so that was my next big trip. I really have been stitching, though pretty much on the water, not on the highway. I will have just a tiny bit of stitching related stuff too. Oh, and here's one of my t-shirts. It says Alaska, and that's the Discovery Princess logo, because that's the ship that we went on. So anyway, for our cruise. So anyway, this will be a travelogue of our Alaskan cruise, but I will show you a little bit of stitching content at the beginning because I did stitch while I was there. So the piece that I took to stitch up in Alaska, the trip we took all the way up there, is called Orca 1. This thing got pretty smooshed up on my trip, but you can see it's a killer whale. I did see killer whales when I was up there, which was pretty cool. And this pattern is by Light Unicorn Designs. You can see them on Etsy, or also they have, they're also lightunicorndesigns.com. I assume they probably have Orca 2, 3, 4, whatever, but anyway. I got 1,356 stitches done on it. So here it is. Here's my little Orca needle minder by Mad for Minders. And here is my piece that I worked on. And if you look at my pattern here, I started in the middle. And this is what I was working on here. So this area here. So it's pretty much the middle of the killer whale. So, and with this, they said that you could like either fill this in with white or not fill in it at all. So I just got a white Ada, and I'm not going to fill in that white. So anyway, this is like the middle part of the orca's body, along with some of the waves splashing up here and splashing up there. So that's my little bit of stitching content that I had on my cruise. So anyway, now I'm going to go on and go to the cruise. If I forget some things, I'll be able to just go on to my phone. I'll probably pause for a minute, go on to my phone, check, and just get back. It won't be a break for you. It'll be just a fast break for me. So anyway, our flight left on Saturday, August 3rd, which is actually our anniversary day, August 3rd. 50 years we've been married, so it's hard to believe. Seems like it just flew by. I mean, not when the kids were little it didn't fly by, but it did seem to fly by still. Anyway, we took the plane on Saturday morning, August 3rd, and what was interesting to me is that when we got, it takes a couple hours, we decided to go first class. We were going all out on this, so that was pretty cool because I haven't ever been on first class before, except when I was a little kid. My parents took me, but since then, no. So that was real fun. We got our breakfast on the plane, everything else. When we got closer to Seattle, I was looking out, just assuming the fog cover and stuff like that, which is pretty typical. They don't have a whole lot of days of clear. And I was totally amazed because the fog kind of settled down in some of the valleys around the mountains, and then it started dissipating, and then I could see Mount Rainier and parts, and then I could see the city. So that was really neat. I took a picture of Mount Rainier. And as I go along, I will be posting pictures of this just like I did on my trip with my sister and my trip to the Lace Convention. I'll insert pictures. It's more of a hassle to do that, but it actually, I think, holds it together more cohesively if I do that. Anyway, so there will be pictures interspersed between when I'm talking. So I saw Mount Rainier, and saw the Space Needle and downtown and the piers, and I mean, it was just amazing. It was just a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. And just to preface the rest of the trip, everybody, everywhere we went, all the people in all the towns and everything said that somebody must have brought the sunny weather with them, because it was like the first set of sunny days that they had had for several weeks. And so we were really blessed. Beautiful weather, anywhere from 71 to 75 degrees, sunshiny, clear. So we couldn't have asked for better weather. So anyway, we got there. A shuttle took us over to the boat, which was Discovery Princess. I took a picture of the sign, the digital sign that said August 3rd, Discovery Princess, because of it being our 50th anniversary. And we went through all of the rigmarole. If any of you have been on cruises, going through one line and then showing all your stuff, going through another line, and all that part was like, oh, I'm on a continuous airport security. I was going, when am I going to get off of this and onto the ship? But we finally made it onto the ship, and we kind of wandered around for a while to try to get our bearings. It took us a few days because there's just a lot to see, and it's so huge. We went up to our room, checked into our room, did all the first checkup stuff and everything like that. We got a room where we would have a patio, and we were told by some friends to make sure that to get it on the one side of the ship, and I can't tell you which side it was, but on one side, because when we go see the glaciers in Glacier Bay National Park, that we would be right straight on being able to see the Marjorie Glacier the best. So that was so we had that. We had a decent sized room with a queen bed, and then a little sitting area with a couch and a TV, and then our patio area where we could go out and sit on our chairs and look out at the ocean. So anyway, we took off later that afternoon, and we spent the whole next day on sea. It was pretty choppy, pretty rough. Neither one of us had any problems with being seasick. I had actually brought along things for that, but didn't have any problem. I hadn't had any problem in the past when I traveled on boats or on planes, but I didn't want to take the chance if my body had changed drastically, because that would be no fun at all. So I did, but didn't have any problems the whole time. And actually the second day of being on the ocean was the worst out of all the days. If I was going to have a problem, it would have been then, because it was very, very choppy out at sea. Anyway, we went upstairs, went to the top deck, and we were taking pictures. It was real windy, and went around looking at things and stuff like that, the different areas on the next day. The food is just amazing. They have these buffets that you can eat whatever you want, and then there's specialty restaurants. We particularly liked the pizza place. We liked one of the guys who worked there, so we kept going back to the pizza place to see Jose. And he was great. He was starting to do some dances for us, and we were having fun with him. So anyway, the third day is when we ended up in Juneau, which was our first stop, Juneau, Alaska. And if any of you know Juneau, Alaska, there is no way to get there except by boat or by plane. There are no roads into Juneau. In Juneau, I'll show you my pictures, but I'll tell you what they were first. We went through downtown Juneau. we weren't there extremely long time, and we had decided to take a couple excursions. So our excursions took up most of our time, but we knew that we had never done this stuff before, so we wanted to do the excursions. That was important to us. The first part of, let me see if I've got this right. Yes. Yeah. Our excursion went up to Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau, and that was really cool. It was getting, they had had quite a lot of rain, I guess, the last few days. So it was like very much tons of water. We couldn't walk the trail up to Nugget Falls, which is a big, huge waterfall, but I did take some pictures of it. And when I took other pictures, it was just like the water was right up to, you know, where the visitor center is and all of that. So it was quite amazing. Beautiful, beautiful glacier, you know, beautiful area. And let's see, what did I do after that? Okay, I'm backtracking a little bit. A little bit earlier, I'm going to show you. I'll show you a picture of my special little dessert that I had on our actual anniversary. So it was pretty cool. So that part I did forget. Also, some other pictures on the cruise ship. There's one really cool one where you're walking over the glass and you look down and you see the water rushing by. So it's as if you're just walking right on, you know, right and seeing down in. So that was pretty cool too. After we saw Mendenhall Glacier, we went to Glacier Gardens, and that was this garden area, part of the side of a temperate rainforest that this guy bought the property, and he decided to, you know, put garden the whole thing, and then have a road up to the top, so you travel along this little little shuttle up to the top, and then see a view of Juneau and of the whole bay and where the ships come in. So I'll have some pictures of that also, and the bay, you know, seeing into it. It's beautiful. So got pictures of that. Okay, the next day is when we got into Skagway. I have to get my brain straight on this. It's a good thing I'm doing this like the day after, because, I mean, the day after the day after. We got back late Saturday night, and then Sunday I was just washing clothes and just trying to get rested a little bit. So today's the second day after. Anyway, Skagway was our next destination. With Skagway, We were there all day long, and we did a whole lot more for our excursions. I mean, that they took longer. The main thing we did do was the White Pass Railroad, and that was just really, 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 really neat. If anybody ever goes up there, you know, do that excursion if they have that excursion, because it was pretty special. They had it's a train that took us way, way up to the top of the pass that goes right over into Canada. Told us all about the history of the train, and also the history of the area, because there's pictures of where the gold rush, the miners, came down into Juneau and back out of Juneau, and in 1898, and these trails they went on with their donkeys. I mean, I don't see how they even stayed on the trails. The trails were so narrow and just so dangerous, and they lost animals, they lost people. It was just totally, totally amazing to me. They had an old train trestle there that they'd used all the way to 1969, and then they built a new tunnel through some rock to make the train go farther. That's a good reason, because that train trestle was all fallen down and broken and everything, you know. So it was good to know that they decided that that wasn't too good to put the train on anymore. I have a picture of going across the border, and the Canada flag and the American flag. It's not the bestest, but when you're in the train, you're trying to take pictures through the glass, because this particular train did not have windows that opened up where I could take a picture, you know, regular. So some of the pictures may not be super perfect as far as having that glass glare, but I did my best. Just some beautiful panoramic pictures down into the valley, into Skagway, the Skagway River that we went along. They explained to us the river is like a beautiful colored gray, green, blue. And that's because of the silt that washes down from the rocks, because in the whole area it's very rocky, very rugged territory, and just trees just like on the sides of mountains like this. And so when it rains, it washes down like a granite silt, and it turns the water like a bluish, greenish color. It's very, very pretty. I guess similar to if you've been to other rivers that maybe have the red clay and it turns the river kind of red clay color. Well, this turns the river, you know, beautiful, beautiful color. Looking through my pictures real fast. Oh, I have a picture of Skagway itself, and a picture of a cemetery, which was a cemetery of some of the Klondike miners, some of the unsavory characters who lived in Skagway. And we had a tour of the city, and the lady was just, it was fun. She's telling us all these stories about these characters who would cheat people out of their gold, and, you know, where they were buried, and how the one who was supposedly a really good town character who killed the bad guy ended up being not such a good guy himself. and yet he has this big, huge monument to himself. Anyway, I mean that his family did. So just that fun stuff from back in the pioneer times. So since it was like the last frontier, and all the people went up there trying to get whatever they could get, it had all the typical trappings of like Deadwood or Abilene or all the towns in the contiguous United States during the earlier part of the 1800s. So funny, funny. On the next day after that is when we headed up into Glacier Bay National Park. That was pretty awesome. I have lots of pictures here. That's where I've got a picture of myself holding my stitching piece. Also pictures of the ice in the bay as we're going up. Of the Marjorie Glacier, which we had a perfect view of it outside our patio as we sat there and stood up and looked. And what was so cool, but it caught me unawares, so I don't have a video of it, unfortunately, but I do have pictures of it falling. So I put in a picture of one of the pieces of ice falling off to, down like this. And that's called calving, C-A-L-V-I-N-G. It means that the glacier, parts of it are breaking off or calving. And that was amazing. I didn't take 20 tons of pictures of it because I just wanted to see it as it was happening. But this one picture, you can tell that it's falling. So it was just totally awesome. Just totally, totally amazing. Just so beautiful. I've also got a picture of a couple other areas that used to have glaciers coming down, but you can see the actual pathway of where the glacier went. That was just an awesome day. Real fun. The National Park Rangers came on, talked about the glaciers, talked about how we are able as cruise ships to come up very slowly. They only allow you to go at a very slow speed to not cause any problems. And then you go up into the bay, and then you turn around and you go back out of the bay. So that was just wonderful. It was like, I think it was probably one of the high points of my trip. I know Chris, his high point was a train, and I do love trains, don't get me wrong. My sister and I went on a train. I always go on trains. And the train was pretty awesome, but I would have to say that that glacier and that falling off, and that was really neat. Really, really neat. So, so after we did that, the next day was Ketchikan. And Ketchikan caught me inside. When I said Glacier Bay was what I thought was the neatest one, Ketchikan caught my heart and made me so intrigued by finding out more stuff about totem poles. When we got to Ketchikan, though, the first thing we did was we went in and we went to the excursion that everybody says you have to go to. It's called the Ketchikan Lumberjack Show. And it was fun. It was one of those typical kind of reality shows where the lumberjack guys are doing all their shows and seeing who can win. And one side of the bleachers was the Canada side, one side was the American side, and we're all yelling for our team. And I've got pictures of some of the different things that they did for their show. You know, different kinds of competitions that they did, and that was pretty cool. When we got done with that, I think right away we had to catch the bus to go up to Totem Bite Park. Bite means like marsh. I don't know what language it is, but it's like a marshy area. And in Totem Bite Park were all of these totem poles. And the tour bus guy, and then he took us out and took us around too. He said that there were some totem poles that were from the 30s that they were redoing, like trying to get them more redone, because they said that the totem poles weren't meant to last forever. I have a picture of a totem pole laying on its side, and when the Klingets, that was one of the Indian groups up there that made totems, when a totem pole fell, it was left where it was and left to go back into the earth. So totem poles were not meant to be there forever. And so because of that, when all the other settlers came in and were trying to make sure that the Indians integrated with our society or whatever else, the totem poles for the most part fell down, and the Klingets and the Simshwa and the other one, Haida, the different groups of Indians, they did not go back and remake them. Probably mostly because, of the hard times, and also because they were supposed to leave them there. So there were a few old totem poles that were found that they went back and found artists that still remembered how to do it, that started teaching it to their children and their children and children's children. And so they restarted doing totem poles back in the 30s. The CCC Corps got together and found some of the old warriors who knew how to do it. And so they started making the totem poles again in the 30s. So some of these totem poles date from the 1930s, but none of them really date from before that. They are so cool. I was just mesmerized. In fact, I kept falling behind the rest of my group because all I was doing was taking pictures of totem poles. I want to read everything there is to read about totem poles now. I was just mesmerized by the whole thing. Just such art, such really, really neat art. So anyway, I'll have pictures of that. Also, the pathways of going through the woods and how the trees grow there in the temperate rainforest, because a lot of them are on the sides of mountains, so they would grow into other, they would start growing, the small tree would start growing in the roots of another tree, but when that tree totally died and fell away, then their roots would be up higher above the ground. So that's how a lot of the different spruce and the different trees grow there, which is very interesting. We saw the inside of one of the lodges of the Klingets Indians, and heard stories of their of how, like, each totem pole tells a story, and so we heard a lot of the fun stories of different. When we got back, I also have some pictures of Ketchikan itself. Beautiful, like bright blues and greens and reds and everything, sort of like the colors of the totem poles. One little side note on the coloring of the totem poles, the original way that they used to do them. It was the job of the women. Well, okay, first of all, I'll say that they would take, certain plants to get them the certain colors, and they had like deep reds, like kind of rust reds, some more like turquoisey looking blues, whites, grays, things like that. So they would take different color plants to do that. And they chewed them up in their mouth, spit them out, but then they took salmon eggs. They would, because salmon was their main food. They would cut open the salmon, take the eggs out, and the women would chew the eggs, spit out the oil from the eggs, mix it with the plants, and mix up a paint. So, wonderful. Nothing that I would enjoy doing, but that's how they originally made the paints to paint the original totem poles. So that was really interesting. So anyway, that was Ketchikan. Lots of fun. I would have loved to have run around Ketchikan more, but the excursions took up most of the time. So we left Ketchikan. We spent most of the day on sea the next day, and then we got into Victoria, British Columbia. And we got in right at sunset. I got some really cool pictures of the sunset at Victoria. And the port. They only gave us 2 hours in Victoria. Chris and I just stayed aboard because we had a fancy dinner that we wanted to do, and we had been to Victoria, Butcher Gardens, and the other things before. So we decided 2 hours really was not enough, especially since our boat wasn't docked right near downtown. It was docked about a mile, so you would have had to for sure get a shuttle and not had a lot of time to do things. So we opted to stay on the boat for that part. So. And then the next day, early in the morning, we got into Seattle, into port, and went through the whole part of getting off the boat, all that funness again. That was the part I didn't enjoy. The parts I didn't enjoy. I loved pretty much all the excursions, the cruising and everything. I didn't enjoy the cramped elevators that you're always fighting for elevator space, and I didn't enjoy waiting around like I do in an airport to check yourself in and then to go through the next check-in and then to have a security check-in with your bags when you come back for excursion. But, you know, you have to give up some things for the fun stuff too. When we got off the boat on Saturday, a couple days ago, we also had an excursion that morning around Seattle because we were not leaving until 6 o'clock that evening. That's when our flight took off, and we didn't want to spend the whole day in the airport. So we did an excursion that took us to the Seattle Space Needle. I'll have some pictures of that. And that was really fun. And then we also went to Pike Market right there on the pier where they throw the fish, but nobody was throwing fish, but I did take pictures, interesting pictures. The guys were getting pretty like in there. They were going, we want somebody to buy something. You buy it and then we throw it. So anyway, I wandered around the fish market, the market itself. Lots of really neat produce. Wish I had an opportunity to be there in a car. I'd like to go back up, drive back up there, spend some time at Pike Market and get some things and take them back to Washougal to the river house. That would be great. But I have pictures of that also. And then we came back, waited the rest of the afternoon, and got on our plane flight and flew home. Had a dinner on our way home, and got back. Probably the only glitches that we had, other than being cramped in elevators and that kind of stuff on the cruise ship, is I thought that I had lost my one piece of luggage on the route back, because I found Chris's right away, pulled it off, and I kept looking for mine. And there was this one suitcase that looked like mine, but it didn't have my two things on it. I have a Disney tag with Mickey, big, huge one, and then I also had a flowery type of yarn thing. I didn't see that on it, so I kept waiting, and then I went and told the guy, well, I don't think mine came out. And he says, well, sometimes people take the wrong one. Went back out again, and he says, well, pick up one, he says, that looks like yours. So I picked up this one, pulled it out. The tag was on, and it had my name. And so I unzipped it, and it had, in the one part, I had a couple books that I bought on, when I was up there, because I always like to buy a book from each place I go to help me remind me of my, trip there. And so it was my luggage all right, but somehow or another my Mickey tag went bye-bye, as well as my my flower tag. But could have been worse than that. Oh, we sat on the tarmac for over a half hour too because of traffic at the Seattle airport, because another plane didn't leave for half an hour. But other than that, the trip was pretty much perfect. It was great. So I just wanted to get this out to you before I head on my next not excursion, but my next spot, because I knew I would remember better if I told you right now about everything we did. If there are anything else, any other pictures, I'll just add them. If anybody has questions for me, feel free to comment, ask me a question. I'll try to put them in where they're supposed to be. Some of them may get put in at different places just because I'm going back and telling you other things and then going forward too. So, but I'll try to get it into the right spots. We are heading to Washoe to the River House in a few days and spending a couple weeks there and like decompressing from all these fun trips, which are fun but very tiring. So we're going to go do that. So this was good for me to get this out and now done. Depending on how everything goes, I may do a video from the river house or from the actual river. We'll see. If not, I'll see when I get back. Thanks for joining me in all these trips. Not much stitching, lots of traveling, but thanks for joining me with them. If you enjoyed them, that's some people really do. So, and I was happy to give you kind of like a travelogue of what I was doing and what I did. So anyway, but when I get back, it should be mostly all stitching related, guys. Before I forget, I guess I should pull out something from my gratitude. And you know something? It isn't back there. Oh, it's right here. What do you know? I left it there for my last excursion, amazingly. So I'm just opening it up to whatever. And where it opened up, it says, "There is time for everything." It's by Thomas Edison, which is funny because, what all the things that he discovered and stuff. But there is time for everything. Feel that, like the time that you have, that you're in an experience, try to experience that within that time. Just get the whole feel of it. And I think that'll help us get time for everything, because then we'll go back, think back on what we experienced and feel like we did have time for it because we experienced it totally. So anyway, that's my little thought for today. Remember to find the beauty in every day, guys. And just grateful that I could be with you again, let you know what's going on, and hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful next 2 weeks, whatever you are doing. And you take care. Love you lots, and I'll see you later. Bye.